The morning sunlight spilled through the tall windows of the community center as volunteers arranged chairs for the annual fundraiser. Laughter echoed softly through the hall, replacing the silence that had once filled Ethan's life. A year earlier, he had walked through each day believing that wealth was enough to protect him from loneliness. A year earlier, Claire had almost walked away from the one person who understood her heart better than anyone else. Now they stood side by side, greeting every guest with genuine smiles. Claire glanced at Ethan as he chatted with an elderly couple who had benefited from the center's outreach program. She noticed the same calm expression she had admired on the night of their blind date. The same gentle smile, the same kindness that had made her forget every expectation she had ever carried into a first meeting. When he finished speaking with the couple, she slipped her hand into his. "You're smiling again," she whispered. He looked at her with warmth. "I smile because you're here." She laughed softly. "You know what still amazes me?" "What?" "The very first thing I ever told you." He grinned. "You have kind eyes." She nodded. "I didn't know your name. I didn't know your past. I didn't know what you owned. I only knew that something about you felt safe." Ethan lowered his eyes for a moment. "I almost told you the truth that night." "I know. I was afraid." "Of what?" "That if you knew who I was, you'd stop seeing me." Claire gently placed a hand against his cheek. "You weren't wrong to be afraid." He looked surprised. "I probably would have." His smile faded. She continued before he could speak. "I would have noticed your title. I would have noticed your success. I might have spent the evening wondering whether I belonged in your world. But because I met Ethan first." She rested her forehead against his. "I learned to love the man before I ever learned about the millionaire." A tear escaped the corner of his eye. "I've spent years wondering if anyone could separate me from my success." "I did. You did. And I almost lost you because I forgot that trust matters as much as love." He squeezed her hand. "We both learned." Just then, the master of ceremonies walked onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, before tonight's program begins, we'd like to recognize two people whose generosity has transformed hundreds of lives." The audience applauded as Ethan and Claire were invited onto the stage. Neither of them enjoyed public attention, but they stepped forward together. The host smiled. "Many people know about the financial support that built this community center." He turned toward Ethan. "But few know that the vision behind it belongs to both of these remarkable people." More applause filled the room. The host handed Ethan a microphone. He stood silently for several seconds. "I used to believe success meant building companies." A quiet hush settled across the audience. "Then life taught me that the hardest thing to build is trust." He looked toward Claire. "I met someone who judged me by my kindness before she judged me by my accomplishments." Claire smiled through tears. "But I also learned something else." He paused. "Secrets don't protect love. They only delay honesty. If someone deserves your heart, they deserve your truth." Many people in the audience wiped away tears. Ethan handed the microphone to Claire. She took a slow breath. "When I first met Ethan, I told him he had kind eyes." Soft laughter spread across the room. "Later I learned that his kindness wasn't in his eyes. It was in every decision he made. It was in the way he treated strangers. The way he respected employees. The way he listened instead of interrupting. The way he cared without expecting recognition." She smiled lovingly. "We live in a world that teaches us to notice appearances. We ask what someone owns, what they drive, where they work, how many followers they have. But the best people you'll ever meet are often carrying quiet hearts that don't need attention." She looked across the audience. "If someone shows you kindness, treasure it, because kindness cannot be bought. It cannot be inherited. It cannot be faked forever. It is the greatest wealth any person can possess." The audience rose to its feet in a standing ovation. After the event ended, Ethan and Claire stepped outside beneath a sky painted with stars. The city lights shimmered in the distance. Neither of them spoke for several minutes. Finally Ethan broke the silence. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd canceled that blind date?" Claire laughed. "I would have missed the love of my life. And you, I would have spent the rest of my life surrounded by people, while feeling completely alone." She leaned against him. "I'm glad neither of us knew how the story would end." "So am I." He reached into his pocket. Claire raised an eyebrow. "Another surprise." He smiled nervously. The last one. He knelt on one knee. Cars passed quietly in the distance. The world seemed to stop. Claire, you once told me I had kind eyes before you knew anything else about me. You reminded me that love begins with character, not status. You helped me become a better man. You became my safest place. My best friend. My greatest blessing. He opened a small velvet box. Inside rested a simple ring that sparkled beneath the streetlights. Will you marry me? Claire covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. For several emotional seconds, she couldn't speak. Finally she nodded over and over again. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger. They embraced as joyful tears filled their eyes. There were no photographers, no reporters, no grand audience, only two hearts that had finally found home in each other. Months later, their wedding was beautiful not because it was extravagant, but because every guest knew the story behind it. People laughed, people cried, families reunited, old friends celebrated, children danced across the floor. And when Ethan and Claire shared their first dance as husband and wife, everyone could see that true love had never cared about titles. It had only cared about truth. Years passed. Their home became a place where neighbors felt welcome. Employees felt valued. Friends found comfort. Children learned compassion. Every anniversary, Claire would smile at Ethan and repeat the same words that had started everything. You have kind eyes. He always answered the same way. I only learned how to see because you looked at my heart. Their story became proof that genuine love isn't about finding a perfect person. It's about recognizing a beautiful soul before the world tells you what that person is worth. If this story touched your heart, remember this simple lesson. Never judge someone's value by their appearance, career, or bank account. Character lasts longer than beauty. Kindness speaks louder than wealth. Honesty builds stronger relationships than secrets ever can. Sometimes the greatest blessing in your life arrives disguised as an ordinary moment, like a blind date, a simple conversation, or 5 unforgettable words. You have kind eyes. And if you enjoyed this emotional journey, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another heartfelt story. Share this video with someone who believes kindness still matters, because your support helps these stories reach people who may need a little hope today. Until next time, take care of your heart, choose compassion over judgment, and remember, the richest people in the world are not always those with the most money, but those whose kindness leaves a lasting light in the lives of others.